Good afternoon to all. Today we have with us our esteemed guest, Professor Roy Abraham, who would be sharing with us about the importance surrounding around our mental health. As you all know, given our current scenario, with regards to how difficult and challenging it has been to validate our emotions in the right sense, amidst all our sufferings and losses going around us with the onset of this pandemic. The importance of mental health is needed now more than ever. We all know how much we need to take care of our overall health, be it physically or to be it mentally. In addition to this, we also would be taking you all through the various initiatives that the ICUF Society would be taking up and focusing on, such as the upcoming retreat, talks and programs relating mental health and well-being, as we need to focus on our holistic development for the betterment of our skill sets. Inviting you all for this fruitful session. Hope it gives you a clarity in ways that your heart seeks out for. Requesting members to put all their queries and questions in the chat box. These would be taken up by our team in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepshika. Moving on, now I call upon Ms. Chanel Maria Quintal, Treasurer of the ICUF Society, to introduce our esteemed speaker for the day.
Professor Roy Abraham is Professor and Head, Department of Psychiatry, Pushpagiri Institute of Medical Sciences, Tiruvalla, Kerala, India. He was the Secretary General of the World Psychiatric Association, Geneva 2014 to 2020, President of World Association for Social Psychiatry, Paris 2016 to 2019, and President of the Indian Psychiatric Society 2012 to 2013. He is President of the National Alliance for Mental Health India. He is Honorary Chair and Professor at the Milan School of Medicine, Italy. He was Principal of Ernakulam Medical College, Kochi, India, and Professor and Head of Psychiatry at Thrissur and Kottayam Medical Colleges. He was also Chairman, Board of Examiners, Member, Board of Studies, and Member, Faculty of Medicine of the Cochin University of Science and Technology, and Member of the Senate of Mahatma Gandhi University, India. He is an International Distinguished Fellow of American Psychiatric Association since 2013. He has more than 100 publications in peer-reviewed scientific journals and has edited the book Suicide Prevention, a handbook for community gatekeepers. He was awarded the Best Doctor Award by the Government of Kerala in 2007, and the Honorable President of India presented him with the World Federation of Mental Health Award for meritorious services to the cause of mental health in 2017. Sir, we are glad you would address us today and are grateful to be able to listen to such an esteemed speaker.
Thank you, Chanel.
Thank you very much.
Over to you,
Is it
sir.
time for me to start or?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
or
Yes, sir.
And it's a great pleasure to be with a group of um, Delhi University students of the Jesus and Mary College and maybe ICAF members from other places. So one of the reasons why I agreed readily for this is I myself was a was a member of the ICAF during my school and college days, early college days. So it's a great privilege to be part of it. And I know the good work which ICAF is doing. And ICAF also has a mission of shaping the health and mental health of the future. So I think because there is a time constraint, and I will just straight away go to my PowerPoint. I'm very happy to be with you in this occasion. Now I think I will. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So our topic is mental health and during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the question is, what is health? Health is defined as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So just because you are not ill doesn't mean you are healthy. It's a state of complete physical and mental and social well-being. And what is mental health and well-being? Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make contributions to his or her community. So mental health has at least four components. One is you must be able to realize your potentials. Next is that you should be able to cope with the normal stresses of life. Then you should be able to work productively. And again, fourthly, to make a contribution, positive contribution to our society we live in. So this is actually, you are mentioning, and thank you for mentioning the book, which I wrote, is a book on suicide prevention, which I am presenting to Pope Francis at Vatican. It was in 2016. And the Pope, His Holiness, the Pope is very much interested in mental health. He's interested in drug addiction, migrants, refugees, people who are marginalized. So now we had a lot of discussion with him on this. And this at that time I was the Secretary General of the WPA, and I was one of the reasons why I was invited by the Pope for this meeting. And if any of you can anyone tell me or think who he is, this particular person? Have a look at him. He is one of the most eminent scientists of the last century, called Menninger. Why I presented this is he is a very famous psychiatrist, a professor of psychiatry at Kansas, USA, taught at Harvard. His books are very famous: The Human Mind, The Crime of Punishment. These are two very important books. In 1981, Presidential Medal of Freedom was awarded to him by President Jimmy Carter. And for all of us know, this is the highest civilian award, something like Bharat Ratna of India, the highest civilian award given by the United States. So that means he's such an eminent person. So once he was addressing university students, just like I am doing here, one of the questions to him was, whom shall I meet when I am mentally broken? Normally the students suspected you must meet your counselor or psychologist or your psychiatrist or your teacher counselor. But the answer was very different from Meininger. So go to your poor neighbor, understand their problems and try to help them. Then you will feel well. So this is a very powerful message for all of us. So actually, so our happiness, when you are mentally broken, or mental peace, or mental well-being remains at the doorsteps of your neighbor, whom you shall not ignore, and we should be able to understand their problems as well. And then now we will come back to, because it's COVID times, COVID-19 coronavirus disease is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. Most people infected with COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. And preventing transmission, the best way to prevent and slow down transmission is to be well informed about the COVID-19 virus, the disease it causes, and how it spreads. Protect yourself and others from infection by washing your hands or using an alcohol-based rub frequently and not touching your face. COVID-19 virus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs or sneezes. So it's important that you also practice respiratory etiquette, for example, by coughing into a flexed elbow. Stay informed. Mental health and COVID-19, fear, worry, and stress are normal responses to perceived or real threats, and at times when we are faced with uncertainty or the unknown. So it's normal and understandable that people are experiencing fear in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. So, and mental health. Added to the fear of contracting the virus in a pandemic such as COVID-19 are the significant changes to our daily lives, as our movements are restricted in support of efforts to contain and slow down the spread of the virus. For example, in Kerala, I come from, we have a curfew, night curfew now. So we can't move from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Faced with the new realities of working from home, temporary unemployment, homeschooling of children, a lack of physical contact with other family members, friends and colleagues, it it is important that we look after our mental as well as our physical health. Now, we all know this, this is Lancet, one of the most famous, most read medical journals, 8th May 21, wrote an editorial on India's COVID-19 emergency. The scenes of suffering in India are hard to comprehend. Hospitals are overwhelmed and health workers are exhausted and becoming infected. Social media is full of desperate people, doctors and the public seeking medical oxygen, hospital beds and other necessities. You must know this just 3 months away, 3 months, 4 months behind, we just a nightmare we have lived through. And then, sorry. So the Lancet again wrote on 14th, after a week, India's current COVID-19 surge is an unprecedented public health crisis. With exponential growth in the number of daily COVID-19 cases since March 2021, India reported more than 400,000 new daily cases on May 1st, 2021. This number is likely to be an underestimate of the true burden of COVID-19 cases, given reports of backlogs of test results, poor access to testing, and many people not getting tested due to fear and stigma. I think the worst nightmare is over, but the world is looking at us and how we are responding. So there was a very bad situation on the 1st of May. So this is the 1st of September. We can see just 4 months back, we were in a very, very bad situation. Now, 24th July, so this last time I could update myself on the exact details. Total COVID-19 cases was about 193 million. In India, it was 31.3 million. And deaths worldwide, 4.14 million. And India, it was 420,000 deaths. So during the last 1 month, things have also already increased. Now the impact. 2019 coronavirus disease, COVID-19, has caused universal psychosocial impact by causing emotional disturbances, economic burden, and financial losses on a massive scale. Effects such as post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive symptoms, insomnia, drug abuse, and suicides in the post-infection period have been reported. With disease progression, clinical symptoms became severe and psychological problems in infected patients will change. Therefore, psychological intervention measures should be targeted and adapted as appropriate. So these are some of the issues faced by the people: lack of clarity about isolation, quarantine, pregnant women needing antenatal care, elderly patients needing assistance. So just quickly passing through how and who. A professional team comprising mental health professionals is a basic tenet in dealing with emotional distress and other mental disorders caused by epidemics and other public health emergencies. With the help of telemedicine, video conferencing, phone calls, text messages, emails, psychiatrists and psychologists and mental health social workers can timely intervene to provide adequate help to those needing interventions. This is the intervention pyramid. You can see at the bottom of the pyramid only, you can see that at the bottom of the pyramid, you can see all the social considerations in basic service and security, strengthening community and family support. These are all very important. And only specialized services like services from people like me come only at the top of the pyramid. So objectives of intervention include lend a listening ear, speak comforting words. So these are, I'm sure ICF members can do this by ventilation of their fears and frustration and easing of anxieties and giving hope. This don't need a really remarkable expertise. All of us can be part of the brigade. And this is a very interesting slide I often share. I took this picture in the South American country in Lima, Peru. So this is the Ministry of Health which we visited. What struck me is what is written there. Ministerio de Salud, that is Ministry of Health. Personas que atendemos personas in Spanish means persons who take care of persons. So that is the Ministry of Health was saying. So I think all of us should be persons who take care of other persons. So that's the message. So this is the intervention strategies. All of us are involved: medical colleges, healthcare professional healthcare professors, self-help group. international organizations, central and state, nobody can go away. Non-government organizations, ICAF, for example, I would consider them as one of the non-government organizations. So we all of us have a role. Everybody has a crucial role, individuals, communities, physicians, other health professionals, psychiatrists, other mental health professionals, teachers, educational administrators, religious leaders, student leaders, youth movements, families, police, law enforcement agencies, private sector, government. Nobody has a way to escape. This is a global strategy to respond to COVID-19, WHO, mobilize, control, suppress, reduce, develop, and WHO needs to spread awareness. So these are, you can have a quick look. And then United Nations COVID-19 mental health recommended actions. Ensure widespread availability of emergency mental health and psychosocial support. Support recovery from COVID-19 by building mental health services for the future. Build back initiative to increase funding for mental health. Ensuring mental health is built into universal health coverage. Then COVID-19 mental health and well-being messages for support to mental health, July 2021. Isolation and loneliness are common consequences of mental health conditions and may be exaggerated by imposed quarantines due to the COVID-19 outbreak. You would have heard stories of people committing suicide when they were in isolation and loneliness and in quarantine. This has happened in many places in India as well as abroad. So it is very important for us to look at their psychosocial needs. Problems with emotional regulation and the reduction in availability of professional support may trigger risky behaviors like suicide. In this new situation we are in, be assured that your mental health and well-being still matter. And the United Nations is committed to supporting your needs. So the message UN is giving to everyone that the UN will be there to support us and help all these people. Mental health response in India. Government of India has issued a toll-free helpline number for behavioral health. Various videos and information, education, communication materials on coping stress during COVID, etc. have been provided in the Ministry of Health web portal, telemedicine, online consultations, intervention strategies for people with COVID-19, contacts, survivors, and family members. So many of us may be family members or survivors ourselves or contacts, or some of our people may have lost their lives. So addressing the grief and trauma faced by people with COVID-19 and their family, creating self-help platforms, helping them cope with emotional loss if they have lost a family or friend to the grave pandemic, recognizing the surveyors and providing the mental and physical comfort at their isolation sites or hospitals. Planning ahead. Vaccination campaign should be rationalized, make it speedily available, avoid bottlenecks to make it accessible to the poor and rural in India. Genome sequencing to track, understand, and control the variants. Publish accurate data in a timely manner. Apart from mask, physical distancing and hand hygiene, testing, prohibit mass gathering and voluntary quarantine are important. Special attention to mental health like depression, PTSD, acute stress, substance use, suicides, etc. So this is a picture for you to look at and tell me where they are. Can anybody? This is one of the countries which have faced similar difficulties.
Italy, sir?
Anyway, you are near. Yeah, this is actually Czechoslovakia, Prague, because they are just released from the communist rule, So I had a pleasure visiting them. You can see how happy they are looking ahead for the future. So the message is COVID-19 is here, but we should be cheerful and look ahead for the future. This is a Central Square in Prague. It's a beautiful city with a lot of Catholic history. I visited many of the cathedrals there. Many of the cathedrals there have been turned into opera houses. So I went into St. Mary's Cathedral. It was an opera house. So, because the religion, was banned there for many years. I think they're all back to the old days. So the way you think about the problems is the most important thing. So 10 mental health management tips for successful mental well-being. You can have a quick glance through that. I'll just go into the little bit of details about everything. Stay social. So keep in touch with everybody. With your friends. You're not in physical touch. Make a phone call. These are all very important. Enough sleep. I think at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep is very important. Eat well. By attempting to treat yourself to high fatty, sugary comfort foods, especially for young people, these foods actually decrease your energy and your academic performance. Healthy, high fiber foods, including fruits, vegetables, protein, and whole grains. We should start it. ICAF being your university time onwards, you should start these practices. Exercise. Even a brisk 10-minute walk can boost endorphins, your body's feel-good neurotransmitters, improve your mood and more. It's a stress management technique that's good for your body and mind as well. Get organized. Between academics and everyday commitments, you are going to be busy while earning your degree online. A can't-lose stress management technique for busy students is to get organized and stay organized. If I look at your laptop, I will know how organized you are. So keep your desk neat, create folders on your computer, map out your quarter or semester and set reminders for important dates. Once you get organized, you will feel stress levels go down immediately. I have PG residents, we have 12 PGs with residents with me, and then there are house agents, 5 of them, and there are about 500 medical students. So I teach the same thing to them, how important it is to be organized. So then only you can finish your work. For everybody. It's very, very necessary. Manage your time wisely, from getting up early morning, prioritizing tasks, personal to-do list while learning online. Get help when you need it, when you feel distressed. Must always talk to your friend or talk to your teacher, and if necessary, go to a counselor or psychiatrist. Very important that we take care of it. Take breaks. Managing stress as you pursue your online education can offer as simple as taking a break. Sitting in one spot for hours on end as you learn online isn't good for your mind or your body. Stand up and stretch, go for a walk, call a friend and meet for coffee. Taking a break doesn't have to be a complicated endeavor. An easy, effective way to manage stress that, like exercise, will give you a mood, a boost. Check yourself. You have to look at yourself. What about am I sleeping well? Am I having any poor concentration? Take a moment, regularly check in with yourself. And positive attitude with care and compassion. Positive attitude, helping others, caring to those who need it, taking control of your temper, behaving politely, encouraging others, encouraging and supporting those who are sick, attending to your spiritual needs. ICAF, Catholic University Federation, I'm sure you look at your spiritual needs. So this is very important for mental well-being. Everything, all of this important, and compassion, attitude of compassion and care. This is again a riddle for you. This is a person who has shown compassion at all the person's life, and I'm making a visit to the birthplace. Can you make actually, if you can look carefully, you can see some hints there. Can anybody guess where I am? Anybody make a guess? The next slide will tell you what the picture is here.
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa.
This is Mother Teresa Memorial, Skopje, Macedonia. Actually, she was born in Albania, but that part of Albania is now part of Macedonia. So I visited it just 2 years back. It was one of her mission for me. And this is the place where she was born. It's a city center, but they have preserved it because, Mother Teresa, Chief Minister Jyoti Basu, because I went to Calcutta when I was a Secretary of the Indian Psychiatric Society. I visited this place, Kangra. 400 women prisoners of Kolkata jail. And Jyoti Basu handed over this jail, this women's jail, to Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa created a heaven of peace and tranquility. And B.K. Chaturvedi, who wrote the book Messiah of the Poor. You can read it if you have time. And in which Jyoti Basu said, she makes me a bad Marxist and she makes me believe in godliness. You know that Jyoti Basu, the longest serving Chief Minister of West Bengal, he was a Marxist, a non-believer, but he was an ardent admirer of Mother Teresa and said, she makes me believe in godliness. So this is how an act of compassion can spread in community. Do you know who she is? I'm sure you all guess.
So Princess Diana.
Who is this? No,
So Princess Diana.
Princess Diana. She is very important. This is Princess Diana. So why I'm showing this picture is Princess Diana, because when I was Secretary General of WPA for 6 years, 2014, 2016, 2020, the Red Cross, International Red Cross, our headquarters is in Geneva. The International Red Cross also has a headquarters in Geneva. They asked me for a visit to their headquarters, and one of the pictures was her visit to Angola. Princess Diana, that's the year when she died. At the invitation of the International Red Cross, Angola has a 1.2 crore people and 1.5 landmines. So here she was invited by the Red Cross as an ambassador against landmines, because that country had a lot of people who had lost their limbs, lost their arms, a lot of deformed people. When you step on a landmine, there will be a blast. Maybe your leg is blown off, or your hand is blown off. And Princess Diana was taken to one of the hospitals there, where she met a 9-year-old girl, Helen. And then, because Helen had an abdominal blast, her intestines were actually out. The Princess Diana, on visit to the hospital, instantaneously, just like a mother, she covered the injured child with a clean piece of linen and sat beside her and stroked her arms for a few minutes. And then after that, she had to visit other people, other patients, she left. But then Helen asked the people nearby, the press and the sisters and the staff nearby, who is this person? She doesn't know Princess Diana. Then the people said, she's a princess from a distant land, from a faraway country. The answer from Helen surprised everybody. Then Helen asked everybody, is she an angel? So she felt as if an angel had visited her. And you may also know that Helen died the next day. And before she died, this act of compassion by Princess Diana could make a spontaneous response from this girl who are on the verge of death, and a flicker of love and hope in her could be produced. So this is what is meant by compassion, the value of compassion, the role of compassion in our lives. Now coming to mental well-being again, day-to-day activities that constitute a sense of accomplishment. That is actually mental well-being. We also speak about neuroplasticity, which refers to the ability of human brain to change and adapt based on experience. So if you give a positive experience for helping people, your brain also responds positively. This dynamic forms for the base for attaining a good mental health. So whenever, when I was in public hospitals, in the government hospital for 30 years, where most of the poor people are suffering, it has helped me to go so much, because, when helping people who are otherwise, nobody is going to help them, it makes a lot of difference. Basic principles include proper nutrition, exercise, good sleep, air, sunshine, adequate rest, trust, and temperance. These are also all part of mental well-being. So trust is very important. A good interpersonal trust and larger social networks are positively correlated with better self-reported health. Minimize contact with people who put you down. Surround yourself with family, friends, like-minded individuals whom you trust enough to share your feelings and make commitments with. There are people who pull you down. You can just you can be polite, nice to them, but don't spend your time with them, because they'll always give you only negative energy. They may be jealous of what you are doing. This happens to everybody. offer a helping hand or a little time of yours to those in need. Putting one's trust in a superior power can often boost an individual's mental health by giving a sense of purpose in life. Our belief in God, our belief in spirituality, all this helps. So, goal for mental well-being: to develop a good character, to interact in ways that help create a positive social and emotional environment, to develop healthy personality characteristics, to use behaviors to promote healthy mind, to express emotions in healthy ways, to use stress management skill, to use suicide prevention strategies that when appropriate, to cope with loss and grief, to be resilient during difficult times. So these are all goals of mental well-being. Necessity for good mental health. Good mental health is not merely the absence of mental disorders, but developing resilience to life changes. Now, all of us will face adverse events in life. I was comfortable as a professor in Kottayam Medical College when I fell foul with the minister at that time. I was transferred to a faraway place, Thrissur. But then that's part of life. These are challenges in life you must take. All of you will have challenges, university students. Sometimes you may fail in your examination. Sometimes you are expecting very high marks, but then you have a very difficult question. You find difficulties. These are times when your resilience is tested. A sense of well-being, confidence, and self-esteem which enables us to fully enjoy and appreciate other people, day-to-day life, and our environment. A good mental well-being helps to form positive relationships, to use our abilities to the full potential, and to overcome adversities in life. Mental health problems, just to glance through, these are some of the common mental health problems which we see in everyday life: depression, anxiety, personality disorders, adjustment disorders, cognitive learning disorders, eating disorders, physical problems, addictions, trauma, abuse, bereavement, relationship and interpersonal issues, work academic problems, sexual and health issues, sleep disorders. There are various other major mental disorders which I am not dealing, like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. But these are all very common mental health problems. Help for mental disorders, formal interventions, medical evaluations, medications may be required, non-pharmacological management including psychotherapies, support groups, long-term recovery plans for those who are really sick. So this is itself a big topic, which I have no time. Maybe I will deal on another occasion. Because if I am going to deal with them, then you don't have time to ask me any questions. So, but these are creative life skills. All of us should have all this: critical thinking, creative thinking, decision making, problem solving, interpersonal relationships, effective communication, coping with emotions, coping with stress, self-awareness, empathy. So all of us speak about life skills which are more physical in nature. For example, when I was my first posting as a lecturer was in Alleppey. I used to travel in Kottayam to Alleppey. At that time, there was no road. I had to take a boat crossing the Vembanad Lake. So during the rainy season, monsoon, I used to be mortally afraid because there is every chance. Suppose I used to think if the boat overturns, there are 100 passengers in the boat. I am sure I am going to die because I do not know swimming. I come from in a more remote part of Kerala, towards the eastern side, hilly places. So first thing I decided, the first opportunity I will learn swimming. So I'm speaking about the value of life skills. So when I got admission for my MD in Chandigarh, before I learned psychiatry, I registered. There was a swimming club there. I registered there. There was a payment we made and learned swimming. At least 100 meters I can swim easily. So, but later while I was in Chandigarh, later on when I came back, all of you might have heard of a Kumarakam tragedy. The same place, the same monsoon, and the boat actually sunk, and about 60 people lost their lives. Just maybe 10 years after my resolution to become so life skills become useful to you. I'm just telling you an experience from my life. There is physical skill. All these things are also equally important. Now, this is the last part of my presentation. Just to tell you that we have published. This is one of the publications which are in the Asian Journal of Psychiatry on COVID-19. Again, another publication in the Indian Journal of Social Psychiatry about other Indian pandemic. No conclusion. So, the mental health consequences of COVID-19 should receive special attention. It is important to provide timely and effective psychological help. Telemedicine and other social platforms have opened a channel for safe and effective means of communication. While the health system struggles to save millions of lives daily, there is probably a risk of looming pandemic of hidden mental health issues, which has a huge potential of shattering the existing mental health infrastructure. So we must be aware a mental health pandemic, mental ill health pandemic can come now. Eventually, just like the plague in Albert Camus novel, it's a very famous novel by Albert Camus. Every pandemic is ultimately also a pandemic of the mind and of the society, where the social, structural, ecological seeds of multi-layered iniquities grow rapidly into the forest of disorder with massive economic, social, physical, and mental adverse effects. You have already heard during this pandemic, the richest people have become even more richer, and the poorer people have become even more poorer. So our fight should be against. We also speak about social determinants of health and mental health. Some of the most important things are some social exclusion, poverty, and also illiteracy. So we have to fight against all these things to have mental health care, proper mental health for all. So this is one of the favorite slides which I show. Can anybody tell me what is this? A clue. This is from India. Can anybody tell you? Again, very close to Delhi. This is something which actually you can see, which I have photographed. Nobody has an answer? Oh, very sad. This is a symbol of the city of Chandigarh, where I studied. This is a city designed by Le Corbusier. And the city, this is open arms, which is a great philosophy. Open to receive and open to give. So that should be our watchword in our life. We should be open to ideas and also open to give whatever we know. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir, for those meaningful insights on mental health. Next, we have the question answer sessions. Students may post their questions for the speaker in the chat box. I'd request Vanessa to read out the questions and sir can address those queries.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for addressing this topic of mental health so beautifully and for enlightening us with your words of wisdom. So now we have a few questions which our students will be putting in the chat box. So, sir, please address them.
Okay, I'm looking at chat box, Soumya and Shalini. Okay. Sir, what if
Sir,
there is, can I read that? What if
yes,
there is,
sir.
what if there's no poor neighbor, meaning what if there no one turns to? So in that case, is there a way to turn into our mind inside for help? Is there a way inward? And there is any, then how? Of course, there are several ways to look inwards, but I will disagree with you that there is no poor neighbor. You can look for it. You can look for many people. Neighbor need not stay just beside you. If you look at the Bible, the same question was asked by the Pharisees to Jesus Christ: "Who is my neighbor?" And a neighbor, that's a message. That is a message. Whenever you need somebody, some people in need, maybe even one of your colleagues, somebody who really need your help. So that's a neighbor. And if the neighbor is poor and deserving, all the more better. And of course, looking inwards is another philosophy. We'll come to that later. So the Pashika Mary Anthony, thank you for this nice question again. With this switch to online reality, most of our world is operating in a virtual world. So how can we navigate our friendship and relationship in this virtual world? Thank you for asking this question. Very important. This is a very bad time for us. I agree with you. So we can only make the best of bad times. And so even in a virtual world, try to be near them, if not physically, mentally. Keep in touch with people. Talk to them over phone or video calls or WhatsApp calls, by emails, by text, don't isolate yourself. So if you isolate yourself, then we will be virtually in a difficult world. So I'm sure a physical world is much better. Even people like us are feeling that we are mostly confined to hospitals, and we have no place to go. We don't have even medical conferences where we socialize with even our colleagues. No Rotary Club meetings, no IMA meeting physical. They're all academic over Google Meet or Zoom. It's very dry. I agree with you. Donna Teresa Raju, how can we be there for the support of our peers, family and friends during these times of trauma, grief and loss? Your willingness to be there is very, very important. And you must tell people when you need help. I have been when I was a principal of a medical college. I told you Kochi Medical College, and then because I am a psychiatrist, whenever I have an interaction with students, I always end with telling them that if you need any help, you can directly come to me. So usually principals, you don't directly need them, because he's always busy. But since I have already made this promise to students, I have already advised the person who was my attender before my room, if any medical student comes, please don't send them away. So on one occasion, one student suddenly came to me, telling me that he is going to stop his studies and he is feeling suicidal. So I held his hand, kept me with me there, discussed his problems, and then later on I was very happy that he has become a doctor, very eminent doctor now, brilliant person. So that whenever you are there, you have to declare that I am available. That will be very, very, very helpful. And trauma, or in times of trauma and grief, of course, there are a lot of people who will need our help. And for example, if you when you ask me these questions, if you look at WhatsApp, or there are so many people who send insensitive messages, pulling down people or hurting people. So you can always say good things to people. You may be part of some groups, so you can reflect your warmth in your letters. If I don't see any other question, I can answer that part there. There is a way to turn into our inside for help. Is there a way inward? And there are any in-how. So there are ways inwards, and I can hear Alicia raising hand. I will listen to that. Okay. Turning inwards, there is what we call mindfulness. So this is a mindfulness. All these, many of the therapies function on mindfulness. So you have to look inwards. You can focus on your strengths, your weaknesses. You have kind of mental audit of yourself. Sometimes it's always good to practice a silent hour, if that is possible. If you don't have a silent hour, you have a silent 10 minutes. When you have an audit of what has been done, what has been my mistake of this day, and then if you have 5 minutes in the morning, have a silent 5 minutes in the morning and make resolutions for yourself. And in the evening, check yourself. So positive things. We have discussed the life of Mother Teresa and even Princess Diana. A small act of compassion. It has come. It is now exhibited in Geneva for all of us to see. An act of compassion. So that's how. And Alicia has raised Alicia. She has been. I am very grateful to her. She has been the person who has been pursuing me, although we don't know personally. She has been very, very brilliant, very dynamic. Anything, you ask her anything, you just cannot refuse her, because she has been so persuasive. Thank you, Alicia, for all your nice reading. You have something to ask me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So the question that I want to ask is, as a teacher, I get a lot of students to come to me and they ask me questions regarding, if they're stressed and everything. But my question to you is, when should they seek professional help, or what are the cues that I should take that I should not be the one dealing with them, and they should turn to somebody who's a professional in this?
That's very, very, very good question. And usually, some of the tips I can give you. If the person has got a poor sleep for maybe few days, and also feelings of disinterest. So these feelings of lack of energy, disinterest, poor concentration, indecisiveness. These are all some of loss of interest or pleasure, the inability to enjoy. They may make casual statements, Madam, I used to see TV. I have no interest now. I never used to miss a cricket match. I don't even feel looking at the TV. I don't even read the newspapers. I don't feel like talking to anyone. These are usually typical of depression, early signs of depression. And sometimes they need expert help. And of course, if you can't manage, if the symptoms persist beyond a week, this is a time when you should refer. And of course, then if there are symptoms have been prolonged, sometimes there can be serious mental illness if the symptoms remain for months together. Again, this is a time for experts to intervene. I hope I
Thank
have
you.
answered your question. Yes.
Yes, thanks.
So we have another question in the chat box by Chanel Maria Quinto.
Okay. Is there any? Oh, okay. Yeah. You can feel free till we have time till another 5 or 10 minutes. Shinela Maria Quintal. Yes. Is online counseling and this diagnosis a new normal that we will be able to adopt to considering the intricate details that go into diagnosis and therapy? It's a very important question. And I am personally not in favor of online counseling and diagnosis. That's only very secondary. Now, suppose you are asking me, do you want a car drive? I give you a third hand or a fourth hand vehicle, it still manages, it helps you, but it may break down in between. You may not be able to achieve, all that is needed. So it's never a substitute. But in pandemic times, we have no other alternative. Especially for mental health problems, your in-person visits are very, very important, because what we you speak about non-verbal communication. There are so many things which are not said. Suppose you come and sit before me, I will be looking at your facial expression, at your voice intonation, at your gestures, at your eye contact. All of these things will give you a lot of meanings. For example, a depressed person will come and sit before me without telling me anything, but simply crying. That gives important messages. And they won't start crying immediately. They will start crying after I ask a few questions. Suddenly they realize they are not even able to answer simple questions given by the doctor. Although they want to ask, they may not find the exact words to convey their feelings. They may break down into tears. So this is only a secondary substitute. But of course, it has been now legalized now. Telepsychiatry or telemental health has been legalized, because there is no in Kerala, for example, is one state where doctors did not run away from patients. But that is because I still believe that although Kerala has a higher rate of cases now, the cases were managed much better, because there was no absolute big peaks were not there. There are no cry for ambulances. There are no cry for oxygen cylinders. There are no huge death numbers, and doctors also did not run away. The number of doctors, all India, we have lost 750 doctors in the first wave, and about 780 doctors in the second wave, total 1530. In Kerala, we lost 3 doctors in the first wave and 8 in the second, so 11 doctors. So doctors did not run away, despite the fact that no doctor ran away from their patients. For example, I did not even stop seeing them for even one day. Even the height of the pandemic, when people advised, you shall not. I mean, some of the people were very, very upset about my health. But, of course, none of the medical professionals ran away. Even before vaccinations became available only now. The first year we had a lot of difficulties. So because we are thinking that we are trying to manage things, Of course, we have to always use all the safety measures. Wearing a mask is very important. Keeping a distance from the patient. The most severe form of contact is when you directly get the virus from somebody's coughing or sneezing. So that is very, very necessary. And getting the virus from doorknobs or seat chairs are possible, but they are rather rare. That's a new revelation. But now we are more worried about, as you know, the various variants now coming, the mutants, mutant genes, mutations like the Delta variant. Now, other variants are also coming up, so we are more worried. But I think, question. Thank you very much for raising this question. Person-to-person contact is the best, if possible. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So in this ICUF small group that we have, the story of Lady Diana, what you said really, how can we get our students to be little angels of compassion in this time? So when they are in the field, what signs should they, first you have to take care of yourself to help others. So what signs when they're meeting in their group, online meetings, what are the signs that they should look for in their group when they know that something is happening, that they have to seek help for their friends?
There are two ways of, thank you for answering this question. There are two ways of looking at it. The same question was asked to me by our college student coordinator. At that time, it was it's 2 years back. I told them, you please take them to Maria Southern. So Maria Southern is a community outreach center. We go visit every day. There are 400 plus inmates there who are rehabilitation. Many are ill. Many have no places to go. I said, you take the whole batch of students. And you know what happened? 80 students went there, and one of the warden, who was a priest, also went there. They not only went there, they got completely involved. And I was part of them. And then what struck me was the priest who was leading them, who started cutting the hair, cutting the long hairs of the people, all of them. Some of the students start giving bathing to the inmates who have not taken a bath. And that was a big revelation. Those batch of students, even now, they come to me and tell me how grateful they are. And they also hosted a lunch for them. So this is probably not practicable now.
Yeah, right now, yes.
But in pandemic time, I can only tell you one important message as a very parting, this is the last part of it. People share their experiences to people who are close to them, not others. Because we have done studies on suicides. And then for all of us, people will read in the newspapers, suddenly the person committed suicide. Now we have categorical evidence that 70% to 80% of all people who have ended their lives have actually communicated their intention to die to someone close to them. Only that they are not sometimes picked up the clue. There is a vague reference like, I am somebody's close friend, and he comes to me, life holds no meaning to me anymore. I'm feeling fed up, really. Then you are a nay person. If you are a nay person, what you will do? You have everything in life. Why are you worried? You cheer up. You look up. You have nothing to worry. You are seeing in a world in a very bad. You have forgotten to realize that he is a depressed person. Immediately you should know that this is a warning. This is a red warning. There is a red flag has been raised. You must give him the best possible care. You must take him in an expert. So this is the type of, suppose you think that's a serious problem, one of your colleagues tell. I'm sure if you have a mental health problem or emotional problem, they would discuss with their colleagues first, somebody close. And if you don't have a friend, invent one. Start to have a friend now. Everybody should have at least 1 or 2 friends. It's must. And then if the friend cannot manage, go to an expert. I think that will be my answer. Thank you for that very important question.
Thank you, sir.
I think we are coming to the end of our session now. And maybe because I have another lecture at
Yes, sir.
2
So
o'clock,
we'll wrap
maybe,
it up.
Alicia, can you, over to you now.
Yes. Donna, you can start with the vote of thanks.
As we come to the end of this session, I believe the talk has been incredibly beneficial. So, on behalf of the ICUF Society, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Roy Abraham for taking out time from his busy schedule and being with us and telling us not only about the different dimensions of mental health, the goals of mental well being, the life skills to achieve mental well-being, but also about COVID-19, its severity and impact of the same on our psychological health, and how to deal with it by intervening and providing psychosocial support. I believe the tips about how to not be mentally stressed, staying socialized, being organized, taking breaks, checking on yourself, being positive to yourself as well as to others are really integral tips for being mentally well, especially in the current scenario. Along with that, thank you so much, sir, for answering our questions patiently and beautifully. We hope you continue to achieve many more feats in your future endeavors. I would also like to thank our principal, Dr. Sandra Joseph, who is an inspiration and support to everyone who is present here. Next, I'm very grateful to our teachers, Dr. Sona Andrew, Dr. Christodas, Miss Megha Jacob, Miss Reshma Jose, and Miss Alicia George for their constant support and encouragement throughout our journey together. A special thanks to our core team for coordinating and working together. Last but not the least, I would like to thank each and every one of you who are present today. I hope each of you will definitely take back something valuable from this session. We'll come back soon with another insightful talk for you people. Once again, thank you everyone and have a great day.
Thank you. I am also very much thankful to all of you for the patience. I really enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Shall
sir.
I take leave now? Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
So,
Thank
yes,
So there's
sir.
one last thing. I think Alicia Alicia is gone.
He's gone.
Okay.
Don't worry, ma'am. I'll email him. And I'll email all the details. I think he has
Okay.
the
Okay.
last name now. Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, girls.
Thank you all for joining this session. Have a great day. May God bless you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Edwina.
Thank you,
Oh,
ma'am. Thank you, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Megha.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you everyone.